Hey, everybody, this is Tell the Truth Sports Radio. I'm your host, Ron Fitch, and I'm going to talk to you about the NBA. And we'll get to the disaster in Phoenix for the Suns, but I will first want to talk about Boston beating the Bucks, and they won the series 109-81. They won the series, and they did, they were the better team, and they choked away Game 5. So Game 6, they came out and played great. Tatum was great, 42 points, 108-95. And I knew this was going to just be a foregone conclusion because Boston wasn't going to blow another 13-point lead at home. And they didn't. They led from start to finish, 109-81. They hit 7 3-pointers. And there's always that one guy that's pretty good that just comes up and becomes great, like Grant Williams, 27 points, he hit 7 threes. Boston hit 22 threes. Horford was been great. Smart redeemed himself. 11 points, 10 rebounds, and 11 points, 10 assists, and 7 rebounds. They were just fantastic. And Tatum didn't have to go crazy. They didn't need him to go crazy like he did in Game 6. But they took care of business, and they're moving on where they will beat the Miami Heat and get to the NBA Finals. I hope I'm wrong because I want to see Jimmy Butler do what Jimmy Butler does, but I like Boston. They took care of business because if Middleton plays the way as great as Giannis was in this series, he had 25 today, but he had 44 points and 20 rebounds the other day in a losing cause. He has been outrageously great. It's just not enough. Not one superstar is not going to trump out two superstars with Brown and Tatum. And Boston's more well-rounded. Boston's more healthier. The Bucks had Middleton. They didn't have PJ Tucker to defend. He's on Miami, which will help Miami in the next series. But I like Boston. When Boston stole that first game against the Nets, that was their fate. That just springboarded the Celtics. They were on fire after a messy early part of the season where fingers were being pointed. Udoka righted the ship, showing how great a coach he is. And they caught fire and they stayed hot and they're playing with confidence. They've been there before. They're sick and tired of getting to the playoffs and losing to Cleveland when they really could have went to the finals, losing to Miami when they were a much better team and Miami was on fire like they are. I remember Adebayo's block dunk of Tatum, the signature play of that series. You don't think Tatum's thinking about that? Boston is in great shape. And we'll see who they play in the Western Conference, but I like them to get a game in Miami and win all 3 of the games in Boston. But they were really good. Their defense is solid. Miami's defense is better, but I like their defense. They're solid. I like the Celtics. They had a 30-17 fourth quarter to finish it off. 31-21 to start the third quarter. They won every quarter. It was a start to finish beating of Milwaukee. And it's just very impressive. Brown 19, Tatum 23. Everybody had a part. Pritchard 14. He hit 4 3. You hit 22 3-pointers. The ball's not going to hit 22 3-pointers against the Miami Heat. But they did against the Bucks because the Bucks play good interior defense and they dare you to take the 3. They give up threes. I hope you miss. Boston didn't miss. And Boston lit them up and sent them home. The Miami Heat, I was just talking about the Celtics and Heat matchup. They beat the Sixers Thursday, 99-90. I don't want to talk about the Heat because that was a fantastic job of what they did. And Jimmy Butler was amazing. Of course, he said, "You guys signed Tobias Harris over me? Really?" So they're going to advance to play Celtics. But this is about the Sixers. I wouldn't give James Harden 20 cents. I think the only way I would pay him if he would accept the league minimum If he opts in for $47 million for the Sixers, that's just bad. And he was accused of sabotaging the game. I don't know if he did that to get rid of Doc Rivers and get D'Antoni. If the Sixers have any sense in their head, they'll let Harden walk. But Harden might opt in, and then he might want D'Antoni. Morey, I would fire Morey. I would get rid of Harden, and I would go possibly get Jay Wright, or any coach that's a good defensive coach. I would get, because this is ridiculous. This is utterly ridiculous the way the Sixers went out. That was bad. I mean, you traded Ben Simmons for Harden, and I told a Sixers fan, listen, the guy it's in his spirit. He's a quitter. He quit on Houston, he quit on the Nets, and he quit on the Sixers. And he said, well, it's Doc Rivers' fault. It's everybody else's fault. And he has a casual way of just going about his business. This is terrible. Terrible. And B deserved better. The guy came back, broken over a bone, and battled like crazy. Tobias Harris played good, but it's another bad Sixer loss. You know what's bad about the Sixer loss? The fans booed lustily last year. They were hurt. They should have beat the Hawks, and they lost. They booed like they didn't care this year. They were just a very light boo, like resigned to the fact that they were just going to lose another series, and they got to get rid of Harden and give Embiid another superstar, maybe a Damian Lillard, to give him a chance while he has a couple years left in his prime. But kudos to the Heat. I don't give them a chance to beat Boston unless they win all their home games, because they do have home court advantage, which is big. They got the defense. They're a better defensive team than Boston. Not by much. Statistically, Boston is. But my eye test is telling me the Heat is definitely a much better defense. Boston's going to be happy not to see Giannis in the next series. I think they could do Butler won't go crazy on Boston. Kyle Lowry has to play. I don't know his injury status. He has to play against the Celtics. Or Mitchell, Vincent, that's not good enough to beat Boston. And can Miami walk into TD Garden and win a game? They're not going to. I believe Boston will split that first two. Can they walk in there and win a game? If they can, then it becomes a 3-game series where say, listen, we win game 5, we get beat up in game 6, and then we try to go for game 7. Game 7's in our place. If it's a game 7, I give a slight advantage to the Heat. But that's going to be a really good series, very close. I have Boston at 6, but Boston's got to get them out of there at 6. I wouldn't try to roll the dice to get them out at 7. Boston's blueprint is split. Let Tatum have one of them big 42-point games in South Beach. Take him out in Boston. Get up 3-1. Miami wins game 5. And you get him out in game 6. Okay, I want to put the conference semifinals to bed. And tonight is the Celtics and the Heat, and I'm going to do a show on that, game 1, and my Golden State Dallas preview. Of course, we all know Dallas destroyed the Suns. I had technical difficulties with my setup, so I wasn't able to do the full recap of this game, but I wanted to just go from a Suns standpoint. They got destroyed, and Luka was great. And Dallas I underestimated Dallas's ability to just play tough enough to get through this round. I thought Phoenix would be tougher, but this is where everybody kind of overrated Phoenix. This is the residue of last year. Blowing that 2-0 lead last year when they should have won the championship last year. They had an opportunity to win one of those games in Milwaukee to go up 3-1. They didn't. Milwaukee took the momentum and finished them off in 6. It's hard when you blow a championship. Coming back the following year is very difficult. Look, watch the Chiefs this year. The Bengals are going to go through that. It's going to be very hard to get that close and not win when you have a lead and you're staring at a trophy, a championship trophy, and you don't get it. Now you got to come all the way back next year. I hope you get all those breaks. Bridges was good. They're a good young team. We overrated their talent. Booker is a star. good player, star, that kind of good player star range, not superstar. And he couldn't bring home the bacon last year, and he's not really there yet. I don't know if he'll get there. And Luka was the best player in the court. Chris Paul's aging, but the narrative is bad. 0-5, and 5 times you've blown 0-2 leads. That's been banged home the last 2 days. It was bad, and unfortunately, you get this. You deserve this when you blow 5-0 leads. You get buffoons like Patrick Beverly coming on the ESPN airwaves, just spewing foolishness. Now, some of it was true, and then a lot of players are not crazy about Chris Paul, and now he's kind of that idiotic representation of how the players really feel. That he did make some good takes. They made some idiotic takes. And then we have a blithering idiot on who doesn't like Chris Paul. I don't know if ESPN likes Chris Paul. They're going to throw him on it. I understand they want a big splash, but man, this guy's going to go overboard in his criticism of Chris Paul. And he went over the top, and he was being Patrick Beverly. He's being his usual buffoonish, moronic, idiotic self. Good player. Not great player. Very good defender. He's not the best defender in the league, like he said. You got him up there, and he's just, you're going to get ridiculousness. And he's going to be nasty and stupid. But he has some good takes about Phoenix not being as good as people said they were. But that was just, and unfortunately, I got to root for Patrick Beverly because Karl Towns is my guy. He's a Jersey guy. I've known him since 10th grade, so I root for Minnesota. When they don't play my Lakers, I root for the Timberwolves. So I got to root for this moron. But he was just going on and on. That's what you get when you blow a lead. You're down 47 in Game 7 at home and lose by 30 plus. You're going to get the Patrick Beverleys. You're going to get people dancing on your graves. And another thing, they talk too much. There's something I noticed about the NBA. Premature celebrations. You celebrate after you win the series. Luka celebrated after they beat the Suns. And he did say after Game 5, everybody's talking when they got the lead, and they mocked him. It's just mocking your opponent during a series. It never works out. It always backfires. Ask LeBron and Wade against Dirk, and Dirk put it on him. Dirk just murked the Heat. I mean, he tore the Heat to shreds the final 3 games. But Paul's the culprit because he just looked like he lost it. Booker's a much bigger culprit than Paul because he's younger, and you got to figure out, even if they're double team, you got to figure out you demand the ball. I thought, and Monty Williams didn't do a great job. He's a great coach, had a bad series. I thought the biggest, and this is why I'll go back to Monty Williams, not showing up in Dallas, giving Dallas the momentum after you pushed them and shoved them around for 2 games, not having that sense of urgency, knowing that you got to get back to the finals to win it, and not having that sense of urgency in those 2 games in Dallas springboarded the Mavericks. Even when they blew them out in Game 5, Dallas said, we get them in Game 6, we've been blown out 3 times. So Phoenix needed to get Game 6 because they have blew Dallas out all 3 home games. So Game 7 was destined to be either close or what happened in the Game 7, and they didn't do it. And they got destroyed. And not really, and they didn't take Dallas seriously, and they paid for it. The biggest culprit other than Booker was DeAndre Ayton. I wouldn't give this guy 1 red cent. He's soft. Good, nice little offensive player, not 1 block shot. He doesn't block shots. He doesn't defend. He did pretty good against Giannis those first 2 games. In the last 4 games, Giannis punked him. And I wouldn't trust him. I wouldn't give him a cent. If I could trick somebody into trading him, I would get you need another star player, another star playmaker, and you could kind of fade Paul and let him just be the guy that facilitates so he's not worn out. And every once in a while, if you need him to go 14-14, he can do it. But you're asking him to be the star, and you can't do that at his age. But he gagged it up, and they're talking about all-time great point guards, and this guy's better. I don't know if Nash is better. That's debatable. Stockton's definitely better. You know who's better than Chris Paul? Jason Kidd, the coach of Dallas. Jason Kidd won a championship as an older player in Dallas. He contributed. Jason Kidd took the Nets to 2 finals and battled the great Spurs and Laker teams. Jason Kidd is just tougher under pressure. So he doesn't shoot it like Paul, could score it like Paul, but just better mental makeup than Paul. So I have Jason Kidd over Chris Paul. People didn't mention his name. And what a great job Jason Kidd did. So I'm going to do the preview of Golden State Dallas after the Heat game 1, Heat Celtics.